What's going on, everybody? Ray here, and welcome back to another video. So guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about the new controls in Brawl Stars and ways you guys can start to get a little bit more comfortable with it. When they first released the new controls, I definitely was way out of whack. I didn't really know how to use it, but I feel like I found a good training regimen that I feel like is really good in order to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And then following that, we're going to be talking about my personal perspective on the new controls and what my opinions are on it. So let's jump right into the video. Alrighty guys, so the first thing that has really helped me out a lot to get comfortable with the controls following the update is really doing it the hardest way, which is not relying on the auto aim. I feel like if you guys discipline yourself to use the trigger as much as possible in game, you're going to get a little bit better and more comfortable with the controls. I was the same as you when the Brawl Stars update first came out. I was way out of whack. Everything was thrown off. My game was way different, and it took a while to get accustomed to it, and I feel like I'm finally starting to get there after a lot of practice. So the first thing I want you guys to start doing in order to get a little bit better with the trigger is make sure you're bringing in brawlers that are very difficult to play with the trigger, such as Piper and Brock, and bring them into bots. Yes, bots have some use in this game. It's not just there and to be forgot about. I feel like it's really good to get better at the game. So make sure you guys are bringing in really difficult brawlers to line up your shots, and don't use the auto aim against the bots. You're not going to lose trophies or anything. You're not risking anything. Just make sure you're trying to get better with the shots. So for example, when I'm going up against the bots, I really try to make sure I'm just flicking or lining up my shots like this. Don't use your auto aim. What I try to do is do it just so I can get used to flicking like this and flicking it in the right direction. I think it's very useful in order to get a little bit better. I know the bots are a little bit funky because they run on UI and like specific patterns and programs, but make sure you guys are just trying to get used to flicking. See how I'm trying to line it up and getting that Nita? Okay, I think it's really important to do that. So that's my first tip to you, is try to get better at aiming like just flicking your joystick. If you guys start getting that down, it's going to start getting much easier. Another thing goes for the super. Super is a little bit more difficult, especially on some brawlers. I know there's been times where in game I just panic, hit the super button, and just jump straight up. But guys, that's my first tip to you, is make sure you guys are just trying to flick like this. You'll get much better at the game, a little bit more comfortable with it as well. So after you guys get done with playing a few matches against the bots with a couple different brawlers like Piper and Brock, you guys should start getting a little bit more comfortable with the flicking on the joystick and lining up your shots that way. After that, I highly recommend using a brawler that is really good at the joystick, that you don't really have to line up your shots a whole lot with flicking in-game against other brawlers. But again, I want you guys to discipline yourself just to use the flicking. Don't use the auto aim. I know in games most of the time you're going to use the auto aim in certain situations, but really try to discipline yourself not to use the auto aim. I think it's going to help you guys out a lot. So brawlers that I highly recommend bringing into some matches that's going to help you guys get used to just the flick are brawlers with a lot of spread. So like Daryl, Shelly, Bull, Tara, Crow, anyone like that, that's going to be really easy for you to land your shots. Poco is definitely a really good one as well. So we're going to jump into it with Crow, and I'm just going to show you guys kind of how I like to do it, making sure to just use the flick. I know it's really difficult and it's going to feel wonky, but if you guys rely on the tap, it's going to be a little bit more difficult later on in the future. I feel like it's a necessity to kind of get used to both ways. Don't get me wrong, the tap or the auto aim is going to be really important later on, especially in certain situations. If like a brawler's right on top of you, the auto aim is going to work really well. But I've found so many times where I'm spamming the auto aim in certain situations, and it's really not that good, especially like if your brawler is like a Spike or a Tara, or not a Tara, but like a Piper. It starts to get a little bit difficult to line up your shots. So just get used to the flicking like this. Okay, so we're just going like this. See how the brawlers with spread do a little bit better job because they have a little bit more grace or a little bit more wiggle room with their attack. You can miss, or it's a little bit harder to miss with these brawlers. Definitely Poco is a great one. So we're just going to keep back this Jesse with the flick. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, we're going to jump away. We should be able to get that Primo here. Okay, the Bull's going to do it. Nice. Let's heal up a little bit. So as you guys can see, I have not used the auto aim yet. Okay. Just trying to offer some assistance. We have Max Crow, so every single poison that we do or every single dagger that we hit, they decrease their attack damage, so it's really, really helpful. So we got to make sure to keep these guys poisoned. The tanks on our team are doing a really great job at doing that, but really trying to get used to the flick, and these brawlers are definitely really good for it. They can really have an easy time in landing their shots, which is what I've noticed. Shelly coming in. You can totally tell when people are using the auto aim. Just jump away. No, 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 no. Go get him, Bull. Nice, nice. We failed on our part, but I think they're going to be able to pick it up. Good job, Bull. Bull's super is so useful. Shelly. I got cornered there. In desperate situations, the super is really starting to... I think the super button is the thing that I'm having the most problems with, or the hardest time getting used to. Like there, I felt like I swiped so I could dash the maximum distance, but it takes a few seconds to do it. So when you're trying to do it quick, it's a little bit more difficult. But that's besides the point. That's my main tip for you guys getting used to the trigger. The next step is making sure to bring in brawlers that have some spread, that have a little bit more grace or ease or wiggle room with their basic attack, so you can start getting used to just the flick. As you guys saw, I did not use my auto aim at all during that game, and I feel like it's much easier if you guys are starting to get used to the flick. You can aim your shots a bit better and things like that. So let's jump into the next tip. So once you guys start getting really used to it and you've played a bunch of matches with brawlers that have a lot of range just with flick and not with auto aim, I think it's ready for the next step. Now you want to start using brawlers that have a little bit more of a narrow path, such as Spike, Ricochet, Colt, Brock, Piper, any of those brawlers that are going to be really difficult with the flicking, but it's important to get used to how to aim your brawler like that. So think of it like this: the auto aim is always going to be very, very easy to use. It's not going to take any practice. You're always going to be good with it, is what I'm trying to say. So if you guys can start getting used to the flick on the joystick, you could be more direct with your shots, especially with brawlers that have very narrow paths, or brawlers that require you to have some sort of shot direction, like Ricochet if you're trying to bounce off walls and things like that. It's just going to help you out in the long run, especially once you get higher up in trophies and you're going up against brawlers that are good with the flick. You're going to be at such a disadvantage if you're just relying on the auto aim. So the next step, like I said, is bring in a brawler that has a narrow path. So we're going to bring in Spike this time and only use the flick. Now some of the matches might be a little bit iffy, but if you guys had done your practicing against the bots with the longer range brawlers and going into matches with brawlers with a lot of spread, you're going to have a little bit easier time and it should start getting a little bit more easy. So Spike is a perfect, if you guys have him, Spike is a perfect brawler to do this with. He has such a narrow path, but he has a little bit of wiggle room, like I've been saying, with his shots, just because he has them so it explodes. So you can still get some damage off every now and again. So here we go. So I'm trying to line up my shots. Nice. Let's get the Poco here. And we're going to close off the Daryl. Get him, Shelly. Okay, we got control of mid now. Okay, here we go. It's really important to really try to get used to lining up your shots, and I feel like I've played a few matches, so I've gotten used to it a little bit. The only thing, like I said, I'm having troubles with the super. The super is still kind of getting, is still hard for me to get used to, but I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there. Ooh, we almost got the Poco. Okay, taking care of the Daryl. Nice. Okay. So now we just gotta stay alive here. Okay, stay alive, man. Nice. Okay, the super, yep, the super, I'm starting to get used to it, but that's my next tip to you guys. I think that's finally you're starting to get ready for the next step. If you guys are getting used to using your trigger, as you guys can see, it was much easier to line up shots, where if I was at a farther distance away and just using the auto aim, it's just going to shoot to where they were once I tapped the auto aim. They're not going to, you can't really direct them if they're moving or anything like that, but if you get used to the auto aim and you're lining up your shots, it's going to be so much easier. So those are my 3 tips to you to kind of ease into it. My training regimen, Ray's training regimen. Make sure to first start with the long range brawlers against the bot, so you can't lose any trophies or anything like that, and just use the flick so you can be more direct with your shots. And then following that, bring in a brawler into actual ladder matches that have a lot of widespread and get used to how they shoot with just the flick of the joystick. And then following that, bring in a brawler that you're comfortable with or that you like playing with that has a very narrow path path. Maybe someone with a little bit more grace, like, or wiggle room. I don't know why I keep saying grace, but a little bit more wiggle room, like Nita or Spike. Things like that, so that you can start getting used to directing your shots. Once you get used to that, you're going to become so much better. Your game is going to go up a few notches. So don't try not to rely on auto aim, only if you need it. Think of it more as like a last ditch tool that you need in order to get out of a sticky situation. So next we're going to be talking about my honest opinions about the new controls placed in Brawl Stars in this last update. Alrighty guys, so hopping back here to the home screen, so my honest opinions about the new controls is that it's different, and it was a little bit frustrating to get used to. Obviously, when the update first came out and I saw that they're implementing this, the first thing that came to my mind was, what is going on? This is so different. And it was very frustrating the first couple games getting used to it, especially since I was so used to playing the game in a different way. So getting used to the controls was very, very difficult, but I felt like once I started getting used to using the flicking, not so much the auto aim, I felt like I started to enjoy the controls just a little bit more. Obviously, I enjoy the tap just a tiny bit better, but I feel like this is getting there. I'm starting to get used to it, so that's always a really important thing. I feel like the thing that we are really kind of frustrated about is just the difference, or the change coming to the game. I feel like it's very different and it's really hard to get used to, and that's what's kind of sparking us to be frustrated, because we're not as good at the game as what we once were. Another way to look at it is, I know a lot of you guys are frustrated, yes, but I feel like the best way to look at it is this is beta. I think that's the thing that really kind of helps me kind of not so get so mad about the update, is that it is beta and we're kind of the testers on it. Now don't get me wrong, a lot of us have spent money on the game and things like that. We've invested in this game a lot of our time, hours, sweat, tears, all that good stuff, but I feel like it is important to just understand that this is a beta, and the main objective in Brawl Stars' eyes is getting ready for global and Android. We have to kind of roll with the punches. We're getting used to everything, and just think about how the new players are going to feel when they're playing this game, especially if this change is going to bring upon like spectating and replays. I feel like it's kind of essential, though it is very frustrating trying to get used to it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not 100% for this change on the controls, but I feel like it is a necessary step for global and Android release. And just try to really keep in the back of your head that this is still beta. I think that's one thing, like I said before, is really helping me out a lot, is that this is beta and we are the test subjects in a way. So those are my honest opinions about the controls. Obviously, I like the old way a bit better just because that's what I'm used to it, but I'm starting to get used to the new way. And once you guys start getting used to the new way, I feel like you're going to enjoy it a little bit better. So hopefully you guys can take some of these tips into account, my training regimen into account, and give it a try. And once you start getting better at the game with just the flicking, landing up your shots with the flicking and not hamming the auto aim button, I feel like you'll enjoy the game a little bit better. So guys, if this video helped you out, make sure to leave a like on it. It really helped me out a lot. Also, comment below on how you're getting used to the new controls. I know it takes a little bit of time and it's a little bit frustrating getting used to a new thing, but let me know how you guys are doing in that area. So with that being said, you guys, make sure to keep having fun with Brawl Stars, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.